Hello friends, welcome back to DevOps Titan YouTube channel, and I'm your friend Santosh. We are going to discuss today question number 8, and before we start I would like to request you once again, if you have not subscribed to DevOps Titan YouTube channel, please, it will take a minute or so, please subscribe to it and click on the bell icon. In this channel we discuss about the certification, automations, the new technologies which has come up, how we can troubleshoot most common issues, and if at all anyone has any subscriber, if they stuck at somewhere and if I can try to help, I'm also open for that. So please, if you are in the IT industry and want to be motivated about continuous learning, then please subscribe and click on the bell icon, so that you will get notified whenever the new thing comes up in the market and I release a new video on that. So you will get notified. With that, let's get started. So now I am on question number 8, and the question says, create a service account by name EX280SA in project 1. There is an application deployed in the project, and the process inside container can be executed with any user ID. Make sure you assign required role to service ID, and application should be running and accessible. Okay, there are too many informations in the question. First thing first, we need to go into the project, and the project name is project 1. Let's go inside the project and see what is there. So OC project 1. Sorry. OC project 1. Okay, and do OC get all. Okay, so try to understand what is happening here. So we have a deployment. The name of the deployment is Armstrong. We have a service. The name of the service is Armstrong. We have a route, and the route name is something here mentioned. Okay, so if we now try to understand the question, at the end the question goal is make sure your application is accessible. And how we can access any application? We need to copy this URL. Okay, right click, copy it, and when we try to access this URL in some kind of browser, let's close whatever is open. Sorry. So paste that URL here. So application is not available right now. So that is very obvious, right? Because application is inside this pod and the pod itself is not working. Now, before we go deep dive into this issue, I would like to give a small idea what is service account, so that all those who are watching this video for the first time or they are not aware about the service ID, it is for them. Others, you can skip the video for another 1 minute or 2. Okay, so service ID is an ID where we can in Kubernetes this concept came. So in that service ID we can attach a role. So the role will have an extra access we can assign with that service ID, and this service ID, when we attach with any deployment, the deployment will get additional permissions. The pod will get additional permission. The process will get additional permissions to inside the container. Okay, so here let's first see why the application, the pod has crashed, and then we'll try to come up and discuss more on this topic. Okay, so my intention is not solving problem. My intention is also to give a little bit of overview why the problem has happened and how to solve that. Okay, so OC logs And let's try to know the log for this. What error? Let's see. So pod name, till the pod name we need to copy and give here paste. So you see here, uh, it it is trying to do some tasks, and there is some error which says insufficient permission. Okay, cannot create directory etc gitlab. So under etc directory it is trying to create a directory called gitlab, and it's not able to create. So this is the logic at the time of pod, while pod was getting ready, it was trying to create, it was checking if this directory exists. If not, then create this directory and assign it as a user root and give this access. But the container is not having, by default this container is restricted that it should not run as a root user. Okay, so what happens if there is some, we usually in a project environment we create image, and at the time of creating image for any Tomcat, Apache, or for any image, we assign that this image will only run with certain ID. Okay, if user tries to access or run the pod with any other ID, it will not execute, it will fail. And most of the cases the pods are not designed to run as a root user. It will be running with some other user but not with the root user. So but here in this case the pod is trying to create something, and the pod is trying to create a GitLab directory and with the root user. Okay, which the container, which this pod is not configured to have this additional access. Okay, so now what we are trying to do here, we will create a service account, and in this service account we will assign a role. Okay, and that role name is any UID. So if any UID means if this any UID is applied to any deployment. Okay, if this any UID is set, then what happens, the inside pod, the inside container, the process can be, so one moment, see. So the pod can act as any user and it will have full freedom. So assume that you as a user, you logged into Unix environment, Linux server, and you are trying to go inside etc directory, creating a folder. You don't have access, but suddenly you got a service ID. Okay, and that service ID has, it's not a root but it is an ID, which that ID has got a special permission. And when you are and that ID is attached with your what you say, your ID. So now you are assuming the role which is given to that service ID, and now you have got super access. You can create any subdirectory or something similar. Requirement is here as well. They are asking us to create a service account by name, name got deleted here, by name EX280 SA, and then assign a role, so that if this role is, if this service ID is attached to any deployment, then inside container any process, the process can be executed by any ID, and it can create a directory structure anywhere. There should not be any restriction. So excessive access, that the ID should give excessive ID, the service account should give excessive permission inside a container, and the process can be executed, can process anything. Okay, inside container the process can try to delete or create any directory anywhere, it can do. So that kind of requirement. So here you see it got crashed because the pod is trying to create a directory inside etc directory, and it's not having that access. So as per the question, we will, let's clear the screen we'll first create a service account. OC create service account, and the service account name. Okay. Am I in right project? OC, yeah, I am in right project. OC project, because if you are not in right project, then you need to pass -n and the project name. But I am in right project, project 1. So service account is created. Now the service account, we need to assign a role so that any user ID can can execute, means inside pod process can run as any user ID, and there should not be any restriction. Okay, so just a moment to load. Okay, so OC ADM policy add SCC to user. So this is a type of policy, SCC. It is called something secure context something. So it is kind of elevated policy, elevated what you say, access if you want to provide to any ID, any service ID. If you want to provide any roles, we are using this policy. Add SCC to user. Okay, and what role we are trying to assign here? Any UID. And to which user we want to assign? The user is our service account. So user is service account. We mentioned -z because it is not a normal user. For normal user, we don't mention this Z. We simply mention role and the ID. But this is a service ID, non-human ID. So we are assigning -z. So that denote that it is not a normal user. Okay. So OC ADM policy. The policy name is add SSC to user. Then we give the name of the role which we are trying to assign, and to whom we are trying to assign, that's name of the service ID. Okay, enter. So that got added. Now we created service account, we gave that role, but still the deployment is not aware about this service ID. Okay, so we need to set this service ID with this deployment. We need to attach. So when the service ID is set with it, then deployment, the pod inside the deployment will assume that role. Okay, so OC get all, first get the name of the deployment, and then OC set service account. And for where we want to set the service account, we want to set the service account here for deployment. Okay, okay, and which service account we want to set? So we want to set this service account. Okay, now if we have set this, so till now the pod was keep on trying to run, but pod was not having access, right? Now the pod will suddenly assume that it has got some power, and now it is able to create the directory. So let's see the status of pods. OC get pods, and you see the pod is running. The pod which was not running before, the pod has started running. Okay, but this is not our goal. This is one of the goals, that application should be running. The final goal is the application should be accessible. So to access the application, make sure the application is running, we should do OC get route. Okay, and once we do OC get route, we get this URL, right? Copy this URL and access in the browser. If the page is already open, I will suggest close this page and reopen. Many times it will have the cache and that will create some issues. So you see, the application is accessible. So our goal is achieved and question number 8 is completed. Thank you for watching. If you have any issues, any concern or any comment for me, please mention under this YouTube channel under comment section, and I will be happy to respond to it. Once again, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. That gives me motivation, and I understand that people are liking the video. And let us know what you feel about this video. If there is any improvement or comment, please let me know. Okay, thank you very much.